Okay guys, so we pretty much got everything removed from the valve cover area, so this is ready to go to do our service. But we're going to go one step further. We're going to try to remove that intake manifold. This will be my first time removing an intake manifold off this motor. Hopefully it won't be too complicated. But I just noticed that there's a plastic T barb nipple fitting. And it's missing a hose on one of the barbs. Not sure what's going on with that. I didn't pull anything off the throttle body that would actually go there. I did pull off these two. One there and this one. And this is for your water cooling system. That's pretty neat. They actually will cool the throttle body. Or keep it from freezing, right? So we got to figure out where exactly this T fitting will actually tie into. Interesting. Okay. Let's get that intake manifold off. We'll see what happens. Let's go. We're looking at the underside of this intake manifold, and man, what a mess, right? There's tubes going in every which direction. I counted a number of 4 solenoids, starting with this one here, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very interesting. So each pigtail will go into a single harness. From that point on, it goes to a single connector, and from this connector, there's another harness that travels to the main computer, the PCM. From there, the PCM will control the solenoids to open and close at a programmed parameter already set for the emissions. That day that I was troubleshooting my evap system, I did notice that there was no vacuum being created here at this port. And the reason why is because of this. So your throttle body sits here, right? More or less like this. Throttle body's here. There's no way you're going to be able to see this with all the interference. So I was taking in air right here at this T fitting. There's supposed to be a hose attached to this. So I'm like, where's the hose? Well, come to find out, the hose is way back here. And look at that. It's broken. It's hard and brittle. That's supposed to be on there like that. Just like that. So this probably came undone on some of those rough corrugated roads at some point. We're going to go ahead and replace this hose and this lower hose as well, and inspect every other hose on here. So this is one of 6 injectors that I pulled from Dusty. This injector, I guarantee, is the original one from '94. So it's seen its use. Dusty's turning 30. It's got about 183K on the clock. So these have seen quite a bit of use out of all that time. These are Toyota injectors, but made by this company called Denso. So I did a bunch of research online, and these injectors are supposed to go about 1 billion cycles throughout its lifetime. So each cycle is 1 squirt from these 2 nozzles down below. So just imagine if you're traveling 3,000 RPM down the highway, how many cycles of fuel are getting injected out of these nozzles. It's quite impressive. So I decided to go ahead and swap these out because I want a peace of mind knowing that everything's fresh. He's got new injectors. Not only that, but these seals on this old injector are super hard and brittle, guys. So it was due for new seals. I mean, it's got no give. It's very hard and brittle. Upper gasket here, same thing. Super hard. It's ready to break. The only one that's a little pliable is this O-ring up on there. So from here to here, it does see a lot of heat cycles from the engine. We have our fuel rail cleaned up. I also went ahead and cleaned up all 6 ports, so we are ready to go. We are fresh. Here's our brand new 0 cycle fuel injector by Toyota. Super stoked. And I was surprised Toyota even included the gasket and the O-ring. So I'm stoked about that. But I still went ahead and bought a kit from Absolute Wits End just for that reason, just in case they did not supply you with those parts. I know Toyota's sometimes weird about that, so they tend to sell everything separately, right? So the only seal they did not include is the lower seal, which sits right in here, and that's the portion that actually goes into the lower intake or the fuel runner. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is apply a little bit of grease. So I'm going to use some dielectric grease. And we're going to just coat all this stuff. Give it a nice seal. Don't want to do the nozzles. Just like that. We're also going to do the top section here. Just like so. And then our O-ring, sit here like this. Grease everything up so it's nice and smooth. Don't get bound up or anything. I don't want to drop them. So this will actually hold the seal temporarily. Just like that. Okay, let's go back to the truck. have the truck halfway back together. So we got the new injectors installed, fuel rails all secured. I ended up replacing the fuel filter. Might as well do the fuel filter with new injectors. I ended up swapping out the ignition coil, so we got a nice fresh ignition coil pack. I went ahead and cleaned all the runners on the inside of this intake manifold for both top and bottoms, and a lot of gunk came out from that. We installed new gaskets. I torqued down all the fasteners to 15 foot-pounds, which is what the FSIM calls for. So got some of the hoses back on the intake manifold as well as the power steering reservoir. So all that's secured. And before I go ahead and install the throttle body, we need to remove the valve cover to access all this stuff right here. So I think the first thing that'll come out is your spark plug cables. From there we'll end up removing the valve cover to replace the seal. I also want to go ahead and paint this a nice silver metallic color, so we're going to do all that. Alright guys, so we're just doing a quick visual inspection here, making sure everything looks okay. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. The lobes for both the intake and the exhaust camshafts look good. The gears look good, timing chain looks good. The plastic guide for the slipper looks okay. There's no pieces missing that I could see from up here. So we got plenty of slack. So everything's looking good. So the next step will be to replace the seals attached to the valve cover, and those seals will actually seal around these tubes for your spark plugs. So we're going to remove those seals, paint the cover, and then reinstall the new seals, and then put it all back together.
Old gasket.
That's coming off.
And these are the seals here. 6 seals, and these seals seal around those tubes, down tubes for the spark plug hole. So there is a little gap between the seal and the valve cover. So you just got to go within that gap and then twist on the screwdriver. Twist. Just like that.
start driving the new seals into the valve cover, we're going to use a 36mm socket to do that. There is a marking on this seal. It's almost like a light brown marking there. Well, that marking is supposed to go towards the valve cover, like so. So we're going to apply a little bit of grease on here. I like using dielectric grease. We're just going to coat this so it'll drive in a lot easier. And we'll also coat the inside of the seal here. So this portion of the seal will seal around the tube for the down tubes on your spark plug holes. So we're going to go like this. Just press them in. Doesn't take much. I'm going to dry this sucker in here. Alright, so I want these flush with the valve cover. Like that. I don't want to drive them all the way down to the bottom just because it gets very difficult to remove them during time of service. So I like leaving a small gap where you could just stick that screwdriver and be able to pop these out. Dusty's put back together. He's all buttoned up. It looks fresh. It looks good. So I finally got around to painting the valve cover. So it was primered for like the longest time, and looks okay with that silver metallic finish. And gives it a nice contrast from between the metallic and the spark plug cable covers. So it looks good. So I went through everything. All the hoses are all back in place. And yeah, next step is to pressurize the system. There is no fuel in fuel rail or injectors, and or the fuel filter. So what I'm going to do is put the ignition in the on position, let the system pressurize for a few seconds, about 15 seconds, and then we're going to go ahead and try to crank it over. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. Dusty's all buttoned up. He's running really smooth. I went around checking for leaks along the other side of the engine, and everything looks okay. Everything's tight the way it should be, and I'm stoked. Came out really good. It was a lot of work, by the way. So you just got to take your time, be very thorough, right? Make sure you get everything put back together the way you removed it. And anyways, that's about it. Stay tuned for the next video. We'll probably get into replacing the O-ring for the front oil pump cover, as well as the front crankshaft seal. Got to replace that. I'm not sure what condition that seal is in, so we got to pull off the harmonic balancer and the pulley, as well as we're going to be swapping out the belts. Might as well do it then. And that's it, guys. So we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.